Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome to How to Build. Today we're going over Gorg, and if you're only here for mastery and artifact recommendations, I'm throwing those up on the screen now. So feel free to pause and use those as you will. If that's all you were here for and you feel like you got what you needed, maybe like the video, and if you want to see what I put out in the future, maybe subscribe on the way out. Other than that, I appreciate you watching. I'll see you next time. For anybody that wants to stick around, I'm going to be talking about Gorg in a little bit more depth, where to use him, how to use him, what sets I think are good for certain places, and just all that kind of stuff. We're just kind of break him down a little bit. So let's go ahead and jump into it. He is a really cool champ. He's pretty popular, and as of shooting this video, there's an event going on right now where you have like a 10 times chance to summon him. So I imagine there's going to be a lot of Gorgs popping up, which is partially why I'm making him next in this lineup. I figure you guys might appreciate a Gorg guide. So as far as his base stats go, they're pretty solid. He's got 17,670 HP. His base attack's over 1,000. His base defense is over 1,000, and then his speed is pretty average. Average tends to hover around the high 90s. So nothing wrong with average speed though. It's fine, and he's got a speed lead for arena, so he's a very popular arena lead, and he's pretty useful in arena too, as well as many other places. So pretty solid base stats all around. As far as his kit goes, we've got a buff strip on the first skill. So you'll notice I had an accuracy set recommended in the overlay at the beginning of the video. If the other stats line up and it works, and this is why, because stripping a buff is dependent on accuracy. It does say it has a 50% chance of removing, but that means it has a 50% chance to proc. Then you rely on your accuracy as to whether or not you strip, right? It's the same principle as landing a debuff. So accuracy is going to be important if you want to rely on the buff strip. If you don't, then you don't need accuracy on him. If you're just using him in arena as the speed lead and maybe the potential res and the attack buffer and all the other things he offers, and you don't necessarily care if he strips buffs, then don't worry about accuracy. Just beef up the other stats that are going to be relevant to you. We'll get into that a little bit later, but nice to have on a first skill. Very handy in a lot of dungeons, can be handy in a lot of situations. So great little first skill. Second chance, fills turn meters of all allies by 15%. Places a 50% increased attack buff on all allies for 2 turns. So he's a turn meter booster, and he's attack buffer. He's an attack buffer, and he does them both in the same skill, which is really, really useful, right? When you're putting together something like a cleave comp for arena offense, which is designed to get in and get out as fast as possible, attack bar boosters and attack buffers are very important to something like that. So when you find a champ that fills both roles at the same time, it opens you up to a few more options in your cleave comp, maybe more damage dealers. It gives you more options when you can fill multiple roles with one champ, and he's a great example of someone that does that. So it's an excellent skill. It's not one of the better technically turn meter boosts in the game, but the fact that it's paired with the 50% attack buff is fine. A little bit more difficult to speed tune with it, but it's not that big of a deal. It's still very useful, so excellent skill there. And then his third skill, revives any dead allies with 25% HP, then heals all allies by 25%. Again, another fantastic skill. We've got a full team revive, followed by a heal in the same skill. So that is really, really good. It's really useful, and it can really put you back in a fight. If you're in a situation, for example, let's say you're running Gorg on your defense, someone comes in with a cleave, and no one on your team is tanky enough to survive except him. They've basically blown their whole load on their first turn. He reses and heals, and then your team can get to work. And I've had it happen to me quite a few times in arena. It's also really useful in dungeons, and it's just a great skill. It's a lot in one skill. That's the thing about Gorg, is that he's good about doing a lot of things in one skill. Here we've got the turn meter boost with the attack buff. Here we've got the revive with the heal. So he's real good at having combos in his skills. You know what I mean? Really useful. And then as we mentioned earlier, his speed arena lead, and again, very, very helpful for a number of things. Generally speaking, first turn wins, unless someone's built a team specifically designed to not go first turn. If you go into the arena and you take first turn and you're built moderately well, you're going to win the fight. So he's great for cleave comps. He's great for defenses, for people that are going to come in and try to outspeed. Maybe you get him deceptively fast, or you pair him with someone that you can get deceptively fast. And you know, catch people off guard. As I said, I've had that happen quite a few times. So all around, there's really not a lot of holes in his kit. He's a very solid champ. You know, he's popular for a reason, and there's really nowhere you can't take him. You know, in the earlier days, I did see him used in Clan Boss a lot. I don't necessarily fully recommend that, but you know, if you're earlier in the game and you're kind of hurting for options, he's not a terrible idea. You make him really tanky, and he can keep bringing your team back to life. That's something. You know, he's not doing a ton for Clan Boss, so I'm not necessarily recommending him there. He's moderately useful in the earlier stages of Clan Boss, and I think that's probably where he's least useful. As a support, it doesn't even necessarily always matter if he fits into the typical role of a dungeon. For example, Fire Knight. He doesn't do any multi-hitting, but that doesn't mean you can't take him in there on a team. Your team is still going to need some sort of support, and having someone that turn meter boosts and attack buffs and strips and revives and heals is really, really useful. So you really know where you can't take him. And there's a couple of different things you can do with him. You notice we had the Frenzy set, so he gains attack meter as his health decreases. This can be a really useful one on arena defense. Someone comes in and tries to cleave, and maybe initially their whole team would have outsped, but with the cleave, you take enough damage, you get enough attack meter, you're now able to cut, and you can revive whoever died, you heal whoever didn't die, and you boost your own team's turn meter, which gives your team an opportunity to cut in the middle, especially if you took the time to speed tune. You'll notice, at least at the time of recording this in Arena, there are a lot of comps in Arena that are not speed tuned. There's a lot of people that don't know about speed tuning yet, and they think if one of their champs can go first, if their Seeker is 300 speed, it doesn't matter how fast the rest of their team is, and that is certainly not true. So, you know, if you speed tune your team and you can get Gorg to cut in, you know, it could be good for you, but there's a lot of different ways you can go with him. You know, we've got the obvious two-piece sets: the speed, the accuracy, the HP, the defense. We want him to be tanky. If you want him to land the buff strip, we want him to be accurate. And then, of course, we want him to be fast. We want him getting as many turns as possible, because the more often he cycles around to this, and especially this, the more useful he's going to be. The more opportunities he gets to keep the team alive and healed, the better. And then here again, he's just helping the rest of the team turn cycle, attack buff, and then while those are on cooldown, he's buff stripping. So like potion keeps especially, you know, some of those have some pretty aggravating buffs they can throw on, and if you can strip them off, it'll speed your runs up quite a bit. So really useful champ all around. I run mine on a reflex set, and I do that just to kind of help him get through his cooldowns a little bit quicker. And I was using him in Dragons, and I play around with him a little bit in Ice Golem, and I've gotten quite a bit of use out of him. I don't use him in Arena, but that's because I have you know, Fushan for the speed lead, and then I recently pulled Lysandra for the speed lead and the turn meter boost and all that. So I don't use him much in Arena right now. Maybe I'll build the defense around him sometime, but he's doing a lot of work for me in dungeons and in faction wars. He's very, very handy to have in those. Potion dungeons as well. So as I said, Clan Boss maybe earlier in the game, as you're transitioning into mid and you're really coming into your own and finding that comp, he's not a bad option to have in there for some support while you're figuring that out. Beyond that, there's really nowhere in the game you can't take him. He's a pretty solid champ all around, and there's a lot of different ways you can build him. So as we said, just make him tanky, make him fast, and if you want to rely on that buff strip, then throw some accuracy in the mix as well, and have some fun. Hopefully during this event that's going on right now, if you're looking for him, I hope you pull him. I know the RNG is very aggravating sometimes, so hopefully it works out for you guys. And if you miss out on this one, then hopefully they do it again sometime for you. But he's a fun champ to have. I hope you all get him, and I assume most of you have him if you're here watching. But you know, who knows? Maybe you're just doing research for the hell of it. So either way, I appreciate you guys watching. I hope it was helpful. Again, if you liked the video, a like is very helpful. And if you want to see what I do in the future, then subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.